Ok. AFAPOS 3, VFSO Belgium, BPHSA Bulgaria, CPSA Croatia, SUSA Cyprus, CZPSA Czech Republic, TORS Estonia, FIPSA Finland, ANEP France, BPHD Germany, GPSA Greece, IPSA Ireland, SFD Lithuania, MPSA North Macedonia, K.N.P.S.V. the Netherlands, NOPSA Norway, PPSA Poland, APEF Portugal, FACEFE Romania, NAPSOR Serbia, SPSA Slovakia, SUSA Slovenia, FEF Spain, SNAP Sweden, ASEF Switzerland, UPSA International Turkey, and BPSA United Kingdom. I have 23 voting members present.
And I resume the standing orders.
Any procedural motion needs to be seconded. I don't see any. Okay, we have a 914 proposed by SV, seconded by AFOP. I will now give the floor to KNPSV.
KNPSV Netherlands, we will propose to only give the team members 1 minute to answer each question. Thank you. And this is per question. Oh, sorry, I didn't know my camera was off.
I will now give the floor to AFOP.
Malina, also we agree with this suggestion to give the people 1 minute per question to answer in order to have J more efficient.
Thank you. Now I open the floor for discussion on the 914. Mihai?
Mihai, President, I close the floor for discussion on the procedural motion.
Thank you. Now please vote for, against, or abstain the 914. If this motion is carried, each team member will have 1 minute to answer each question. Twenty-three votes for, motion was carried. So each team member will have 1 minute to answer each question. Okay, now I will pass facilitation to Eline.
Yes, thank you, Bianca. So with this, we can move on to the next point on the agenda, the reports. And first we have the administrative department, and we will start with the president. So are there any questions on the report? Yes, KNPSV.
KNPSV Netherlands is not really common to Mihai, but just to everyone else in the team. We think that you all did very well. Being a board member or team member during this time is not easy, and I think that you did very well. And I will not comment on each individual report when asking, because sometimes it's quite common to first say that when asking questions, oh, you did well. I will not do that. I just want to speak to everyone here, everyone in the team. You did well, and thank you so much for all your hard work. But I will just not say it with each individual report, because that will take a lot of time. Thank you.
I see general agreement in the chat. Are there any more questions on the report? Yes, KMPSV.
Kati, KMPSV Netherlands. In your report, you mentioned a lot of things about communication, and I was kind of wondering if you have any ideas or tips for the next team to help them improve their communication in the beginning.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, yes, there were a lot of issues there. I had a brief chat with Joseph, President-elect, about what could be improved already, but there are quite a lot of steps. First of all, and the most important thing is to make sure all the time that the team is informed about what is happening in the executive. If they can be up to date with all the decisions and all the discussions, I think from that point on, communication should go better. I think that was the biggest flaw we had. We didn't have transparency towards the team, let's say.
AFOP?
Annika, AFEP Austria. Why do you think establishing informal communication with alumni would help? Wouldn't this negate the necessity of the Alumni Coordinator? Thank you.
Mihai?
Yeah, President, we should maybe take a line between the informal channels that you can establish with one or two people that you can go to and maybe bounce some ideas from and so on and so forth. And also the central role that the alumni coordinator has to be involved in all the communication. Every time there was something to be sent over email or make it official, the alumni coordinator was involved and aware of what's happening. But there were also situations where I just approached certain alumni via Telegram or WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever to have a more informal discussion and a more relaxed environment, let's say. This is why I'm saying sometimes it's good to have some alumni close and not necessarily to negate the role of the coordinator in the team.
KMPSV?
Jason, KMPSV Netherlands. Having a live meeting next mandate may be impossible as well. What is your stance on how the next team could be better prepared to face the possible first dip in motivation? Thank you.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, well, we started the mandate thinking that we will have a live meeting, and then we, or at least I personally, clinged very much to the idea that it would happen. My advice would be to start with the thinking that everything will happen online, and if there is opportunity to meet live, that would be perfect, but to not only wait on that meeting to happen and to start to prepare everything as for a full online mandate.
APEF?
Luciano APEF, Portugal. By Maeva's report, it seems that the team had a bit struggle regarding communication and misunderstanding. You mentioned you tried some new approaches, but you haven't specified. So could you please elaborate and explain why it didn't work? Thank you.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, well, problems arise a lot, especially when we discuss the restructure. Well, the approach was for me to discuss with the VPs what to do, and then the VPs to go further down at department level. There was a bit of misunderstanding then because it wasn't properly communicated that those discussions would lead to this. And then when the plan actually came out and the team had the first opportunity to see it, we had the first big problem, let's say, in communication and in in communication, that's the word. Did I answer? Should I mention anything else? I don't know.
Okay. Next is Chairperson.
Nate, Chairperson Slovenia. I have a question to you, or perhaps the whole administrative department. Do you see having the KPIs, key performance indicators, in the reports beneficial? Because the majority of the KPIs were not accomplished, and yeah, what is your take on that? Thank you.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, I do find the KPIs beneficial because it allows each team member to set some concrete goals to achieve by the end of the mandate, and they should be motivated to fulfill them by the time they reach it. Of course, looking at them now doesn't seem like we managed to deliver a lot. but that is because the KPIs were made with the mindset that we'll be able to meet live and were created in that perspective, let's say. The problem was with the initial wording and with how we stated our goals and not necessarily with what the team delivered and what we managed to achieve until the end.
PPSA?
Jana, PPSA Poland. In your report, you mentioned the individual meetings with the executive. It was about the register, but do you think that the individual meetings also with the coordinators and more regular meetings with the executive would improve the communication and bonding between the team members in the next mandate to keep the team more informed about things that are going on and keep them motivated? Thank you.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, well, they can be a good thing to have indeed, but my advice for the next president and for the presidents after, if this will be kept, is to do them on a, like if there is a need for it. I wouldn't advise on having a round of individual meetings with each team member because that could, for one, make VPs maybe think that the president is overstepping them, and that is not a good thing. And second, it takes a lot of time to have them. Whenever I had individual exec meetings, like rounds with the executives, I needed to log 2 weeks and focus mainly on this. There is preparation before that meeting, you have the meeting, and then of course we also have other things to do, and it's counterproductive. I mean, you end up spending a lot of time just on these meetings and you can't focus on everything else happening.
Again, PSV?
Cathy, KPSV Netherlands. In your report, you mentioned that you plan on sharing the draft for the strategic plan on the 6th and 1st team meeting. I was wondering when you were planning to share this with the LSs.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, given the fact that it will be shared in the 6/1st, it won't be my decision to see when to be shared with members. My advice would be to have it done at exec level. This is what is going to happen in the next period. Then to share it with the team for the last round of input, let's say. And then maybe on the 6/1st team meeting, it can be the official release, let's say, to members and to everyone to discuss and to have enough time to discuss it before the GA.
APEF?
Mariano, APEF Portugal. I would just like to know what were the main reasons behind the drop of motivation you mentioned in your report.
Mihai?
Mihai, President, well, miscommunications were one of the reasons. The other was that at around December/January, I realized there is not gonna be a live meeting and that the approach is completely wrong. Having to stay home instead of being in Brussels during my internship was also one of them. Not being able to attend events or anything can be another. I don't know. There was a lot of small things that when added up made a dent.
KNPSV?
Jason, KNPSV, the Netherlands. Could you elaborate a little bit more about the 3 days in office and 2 days for EPSA system? Thank you.
Mihai?
Mihai, President. So I'm not 100% sure. I would need to go back to previous interns, maybe 2 mandates ago, to have a perfect image. But I am under the impression that we are spending 5 days in the offices of the internship providers when it should be 3 days for them and 2 days of working for EPSA. So we ended up with internships being full-time jobs instead of somehow part-time, and to also give time to work for EPSA. And this is why I'm mentioning it and why I would like to turn that back a bit and to give interns more time to also focus on EPSA and not to have 9 to 5 jobs and then to also make them attend events and tackle EPSA and everything.
SVD?
Sanja, SVD Slovenia. In your report, you mentioned the importance of information flow, which is connected to the OEM minutes being delivered on time. You also mentioned a backup system in cases they are delayed, and we are just wondering, did you have anything specific in mind with that backup system?
Mihai?
Mihai, President, we had a discussion on giving short outcomes of the OEMs to coordinators in the department chats. We had different approaches at this. Some work better, some work not that well. I think it will be a point on the executive handover meeting to see exactly what to do and how to ensure that information flows perfectly in the team and we don't end up with lack of information / miscommunication in the future.
I see no more points on the speaking list. Are there any more questions? If not, we can move on to the next report from the treasurer. So are there any questions for Dylan? First we have KNPSV.
Kati, KNPSV Netherlands. I was wondering, because of course we could have seen this also in the financial documents, but mostly like, what is your view on the EPSA finances and how this has been impacted by the pandemic? Thank you.
Dylan?
It's a tough one to sum up in 1 minute, but basically the finances are in a good place at the moment. With the pandemic, it means that there's been less expenses, now also less income from sponsors and so on, but the way it's balanced out, it means there will be a surplus going into next year, which we will be discussing tomorrow. But overall, the finances are in a good place for EPSA. So I think if that answers your question, I think we're okay for the moment.
AFOP?
Annika, AFEP Austria. How will you ensure that your successor does not face the same struggles that you faced when you did not receive the credit and debit cards in the beginning of your mandate? Thank you.
Dylan, Treasurer. Yeah, so I think I mentioned it somewhere, but I could have mentioned it in other reports as well. But mainly we'll be liaising with the bank pre the direct handover. So we'll have the cards and all the access to the account sorted before the start of the next financial year. So before the 1st of August 2021, we'll have all the access sorted for my successor. So once the successor gets voted in or elected, we can get cracking on those plans.
First, let me give you the speaking rights, Dylan, then you can talk. Mihai.
Mihai, President, the first step we'll need to take in that direction would be to have the documents from the French tribunal released to us early, because that gives the next people power to represent EPSA and to have cards on their name and so on. So that would be the first step.
KNPSV?
Kati, KNPSV Netherlands. In your report, you mentioned a lot about like making all the financial documents understandable for audit and also for the others. I really enjoyed all the easy documents and when you went through them. I was wondering if there were any troubles from audit committee members in the past of trying to understand the documents or having too difficult documents.
Dylan?
Dylan, Treasurer. For the most part, no, there's been no difficulty. Usually audits have a bit of experience in kind of finances or looking at accounts. But for the most part, once they get the handle of Conscribo, the software, and they can review that efficiently, there's usually no trouble then with looking at the accounts and reading the numbers and seeing where all because we have a system that combines Conscribo and Google Drive. So accounting in Conscribo and then all the references and kind of backup material in Google Drive, and they can use that to audit all of the accounts efficiently. So following that, then there's usually no issues now.
Any more comments or questions? I see none. And with this, we can move on to the Internal Affairs Department. And we will start with the Vice President of Internal Affairs. Any questions on the report? APEF.
Luciano APEF Portugal. I just wanted to know if you have any feedback from the individual members and if you see something changing regarding this or even to increase their engagement. Thank you.
Maeva?
Maeva, VPIA, thank you for the question. When it comes to individual members, well, I think what needs to be done is to make sure to give them all the information about what is going on in EPSA. And usually we get individual members application when they are trying to get involved in some EPSA projects and activities. So that it comes more on that way around instead of us having to get them to join because of X or Y. So usually when we get an individual member application, it's because they want to get involved in a certain project. Then you just need to make sure that they are receiving enough information to keep on being updated and get more involved.
And sorry, I missed you before. KMPSV.
Kathy, KMPSV Netherlands, don't worry. I had a question about the friends of the association because there are not that much, and I was wondering, is it still beneficial, and do you think if there's any way to improve the benefit of having the friend of the association membership? Thank you.
Maeva?
Maeva VPA, thank you for the question. When it comes to friend of the association, I think we should not push too much. Like as we explained, I think earlier when we had the reg changes, or maybe before, this status is mainly for pharmaceutical students from outside of Europe that are trying to get involved, and usually they apply for that status and then follow up on some activities in EPSA. Therefore, we really have a few of them. From what I've seen in the past years, I couldn't find more than 10 friend of association applications. So my advice it will still be a possibility for students that will really want to be involved or get more information from EPSA on some stuff, but there is nothing big to deal or restructure with when it comes to that membership.
APEF?
Mariano, APEF Portugal. Maeva, what did you think of this year's LS Day? Would there be anything you would improve or change?
Maeva?
Maeva VPA, thank you for the question. Well, considering that we are having online mandates and online environment, I think the LSD was beneficial in gathering some LSs more together and working on together, having some discussion. I think definitely it would, well, considering in case we don't have any live LSD, it should be done definitely sooner than it was this mandate. And then, yes, include as much as what LSs would like to have during this. But trainings were good things for them to work on, some beneficial workshop depending on what they really need to know, and some discussion session where they could also share and brainstorm together on some topics. Thank you.
Next, KMPSV.
Kati, KMPSV Netherlands. I was wondering about the buddy project because over the last, sorry, I was confused by reading the message. But over the last months, we have talked, or there have been several discussions during team meetings and also during the GA about this project. So I was wondering if you were planning on doing something with this, or if you were doing this with your successor. So yeah, thanks.
Maeva?
Eva VPA, thank you for the question. Yes, the buddy project is something that we discussed in last team meeting, and we propose to have a new approach. Instead of mandatory allocating team members with LSs, we will try something more on a volunteering basis as for the mentoring project. So to have to ask for members interested, then team members interested, and then try to make them work together. I think it's something that can be tried out, and then we'll see depending on the mandate how it goes. Also, if things goes back live, it can also change the dynamic. When it comes to people, a lot of things can be a bit unpredictable. So only thing I would advise is to try as much as possible to find a solution that will fit everyone's needs.
APEF?
Luciana for Portugal. Is there any difficulty regarding the compilation of email threads? And if so, what and how should be tackled? For example, LS's reports and credentials being sent really after the deadline. Thank you.
Maeva?
Maeva VPIA, I don't really know like how to answer this question, because usually it is done by the Secretary General, like the compilation on, I think so. Like it was my first time doing it because of the backup for SecGen. So I will not be able to tell you exactly like how it works. I just tried my best to at least, we had a common spreadsheet where I would mark all the email addresses got in the credential form, and then checking if I received the report. So we have a centralized spreadsheet for that, which makes it easier. But then for the collection itself, I think only SecGen can take the report, put them in the J package or in the library. I will just leave Mihai explain you more about that process.
Mihai?
Mihai, President. So what I can already tell you is that delays are always expected. You cannot expect to have 42 reports all sent in time. And therefore deadlines are set in such a way that we also take into account this.
APEF?
Mariano of Portugal. I would just like to know how many individual members does EPSA have and how was the communication during the mandate?
Maeva?
Maeva VPA, I'm sorry, I was trying to check on this at the same time to let you know. From what I see, yes, for now we have 13 active individual members, so people that are entitled to participate in EPSA's project and activities. And when it comes to the communication, so it was mainly the initial communication when they were applying, and then since we had the Google group established, I was able to send them informative emails on the different projects and activities that were also shared with you, but then I was sending to them so they also know what was going on. But then it was no other direct communication besides if they need proof to get involved in a project or to just know how to apply and things like that.
Fasevere?
Miruna Fasevere, Romania. We don't have a question for you, but we want to congratulate you on maintaining a good communication between the EPSA team and the LSs. The involvement from your side was recognizable, and we were very pleased with your collaboration. So, merci beaucoup.
Any more comments or questions on the report? Yes, SFD, I guess.
Thank you so much. I have one question to Maeva. What was the hardest thing for you throughout your mandate, and how do you imagine that being made easier for your successor? Thank you.
Please state your name and status the next time. Maeva.
Maeva VPIA, well, that's a hard question as well. But I think, yes, the hardest thing was the disillusion, like realizing that we will probably never meet live. Well, switching from the live involvement in the mandate to the online aspect, trying to think about how to make things fit online, because I did not have the same ideas and energy for live and online. So yes, for my successor, first to go with the mindset of online environment and adapting in accordance to that, and I think then it will be okay. Well, more manageable at least.
KNPSV.
Kati, KNPSV Netherlands. I had a question about the LS Day, or not really a question, but in the future and also for your successor, or it would be beneficial to send the feedback of the LS Day just right after the day, because then it's really fresh in everyone's memory. So I think it will also be beneficial to for the results.
I see no more comments or questions in the chat. Nope. Okay, then we can move on to the Alumni Coordinator. Any comments or questions on this report? KNPSV.
Kati, KNPSV Netherlands. My only question was, did you receive any feedback on the Alumni Weekend last week? I know it will, or from what I've heard, it was a huge success and will take place again this weekend. So I was kind of wondering if you had any kind of feedback on this.
Carolina.
Carolina, Alumni Coordinator. I didn't do any official feedback, as I just don't think the Alumni Weekend Online will be something that will be building on next mandate as well. I hope for a live one. But in general, it was good. They enjoyed it and they liked the structure of it. So that's why we're having it this weekend as well.
Any more comments or questions? I see none. Then we can move on to the Events Coordinator. Comments or questions on this report? APEF?
Luciano APEF, Portugal. Since there's been only one application to organize one of the events, do you have any strategies in mind to pass to your successor in order to increase the number of applications?
Juana?
Juana, Events Coordinator. Really nice question. I've also discussed this with my successor earlier this month, and we were thinking to start during the handover period with the investigations on some of the issues we have identified as to what's stopping members from applying, and then see how those investigations go. And after we have the results, see how we can build a strategy based on that. Otherwise, since the pandemic is still really recent, we should see how their motivation stays up.
Any more comments or questions? And again, I see none. So let's move on. And next we have the chairperson of the EPSA Annual Congress. Any questions on this report? Apef?
Luciana Pé, Portugal. In your report, you mentioned that you had 0 department meetings. Wouldn't it be beneficial to have at least some of them? Thank you.
Gauthier?
Gauthier, AC Chairperson. Thank you for your question. To be honest, for the past department meetings, I had some exams and personal demands that made that I couldn't be available for the department meetings. But we did the last one recently, and I recommend it here too.
Maefa, with a point of information, he attended 2 meetings, I think. Any more comments or questions? I see none. Mihai with a technical.
Hi, President. So looking at the fact that reports are going quite fast and we just had a break, I'd like to ask for your permission to start into the next scheduled session, also keeping in mind that we are a bit behind the agenda. Can I have a yes in the chat if you agree to start with Educational Department? Okay, that looks like agreement. Thank you very much. So let's continue with the next session and we can reevaluate after Edu if we continue or not.
Thank you, Mihai. Now we start with the Vice President of Education. Any comments or questions on this report? Yes, Shishifide.
Nate Shishifide, Slovenia. I would just like to ask you what online educational activities were the most effective during the COVID-19 period, what online activities? Yes, thank you.
Joseph?
Joseph, Vice President of Education. From the educational point of view, the online AA in autumn was quite successful. We had almost 200 participants, which in my opinion is quite a lot for online EPSA activity. Overall, throughout the year, the webinars itself have been somehow disappointing, at least some of them. For example, in autumn, the ones for the Antibiotic Awareness Week, we had quite low attendance, which was quite demotivating for all of the people involved. Also, one more thing, what is usually quite popular is online trainings. Yeah, we had them during AA, for example.
Next, we have KNPSV.
Kathy, KNPSV Netherlands. In your report, you mentioned that you plan on doing more internal educational department activities, and I was wondering for who will this be available? I think it would be beneficial to also include this for the elected coordinators and VP of education.
Joseph?
Yeah, Vice President of Education. Thank you for this question. Originally, when I was planning this at the beginning of the mandate, It was meant for a team, but it took longer to think through, to have a survey among the team what topics they would like to cover. So we've been able to have only one up until now. But my plan with my successors for the handover is to include more of them for the whole team. This would include some workshops or webinars and trainings.
Apef?
Yeah, Apef, Portugal. Do you think that in the event of a cancellation, the annual Congress RC would be ready to host the event online? And have you made any preparations regarding this possibility?
Joseph?
Yeah, the Vice President of Education, I can't speak at all on behalf of RC and how they would feel in event of such unfortunate cancellation. There were no discussions yet, and now it's time to be a bit positive for future. Maybe it can change in a month or two, but for now, from the side of EPSA, it's proceeding as it will be a live event.
Any more questions on this report? I see none. Then we can move on to the report of the Educational Affairs Coordinator. KNPSV?
Kathy, KPC Netherlands. I had a question regarding LEAP because in the beginning or during our mandate, you asked us to verify all the names in the list, and I was wondering, for example, I changed all the incorrect names because most of the names were like derived from the email accounts. So if someone had just their first letters, then their name in the document would also be their first letters. And I changed those into like the real names when checking the documents. And I was wondering if all the other associations did this as well, and if it's now easier to like verify the addresses based on their name. Thank you.
Andrea?
Andrea, the first coordinator. I hope I understand your question right. So I really appreciated the associations who wrote the correct name for the people who didn't have it, only because it was very helpful for me. There were other associations as well. And what I did, I created a database because I cannot change the accounts on LEAP of all students. But I created a database with a LEAP name account and the student name. So in the future, when for checks should be done, it would be easier for Edu Affairs Coordinator and for LS to find out like who that person is. I hope I answered. If not, just please clarify it.
SVD?
Yes, Nate, SVD. Thank you very much for your report. In your report, you also mentioned that the surveys are too long for participants to solve. And we have a question like, do you actually need the numbers of the participants that are solve the survey? Because we believe that it would be better way to gather information if you could just use the LSs and let them investigate what is the situation in their countries. Thank you.
Andrea?
Andrea, the first coordinator. I hope I understood your question. So we need the numbers collected together to create our report, because it shows better to have the number of the actual students that filled in that survey from each country and the overall number of students that we reach with the survey. I hope it answers. If not, please clarify it and I will be happy to explain further.
Lechia také slova?
PPSA?
Jana, BPSA Poland. I'm happy that this matter was brought to attention because I received some comments that the surveys for the methodology booklets are very long. And do you think that there is any way to make the surveys shorter? Like for example, the last survey about mental health, it was more user-friendly, I would say. Thank you.
Andrea?
Andrea, the first coordinator. Yeah, we thought of some ideas on how to make it shorter. I think both Piotr and I wrote some brief ideas in our reports, and yeah, we agreed that the mental health survey was more friendly. So I would definitely leave some similar recommendations for the future when the educational affairs coordinator would start a new survey on a topic related to methodology booklet.
Let me see. Shazasafade with the directs.
Nate, Shazasafade Slovenia. Yes, I would just like to clarify what I meant. We had the same issues as PPSA said, like our students have contacted us that the survey is too long and that they have started to solve it like 3 or 4 times, but they were not able to finish because due to the fact that it was too long. So yeah, I just wanted to ask that if it's possible for the future references to just gather the information with the help of the LSs, like just let them investigate the information, what is the situation in their countries, or do you actually need the numbers of people solved? Like, because we believe that it would be easier and more effective if the LSs could just investigate what is the situation in their countries.
Andrea?
Andrea, the first coordinator. Thank you, Nate, for clarifying. Now I understood it better. I think in this kind of situation, the numbers of students are quite important because we are not evaluating concrete facts, like how the things are actually happening, but how students believe it should be right. And the opinions are varying and are different from student to student. So it would be beneficial to have some raw statistics. So we have this number of students that believe that this tool would be more useful, and this smaller number that believe that this tool would be useful for them as well. I think in this situation might be better, but I agree that the survey is long and something should be done regarding this next time.
Fasfere?
Miruna Fespre, Romania. You stated in your report that you started an investigation for add-ons that would allow more features for the courses. Could you elaborate more, please?
Andrea?
Andrea, the first coordinator. So basically on LEAP for the courses, we are having a plugin called LearnPress, which is like the free basic part. But there are several smaller additional stuff that you can add to it called the add-ons that can do more stuff better. For example, the release of automatic certificates once the course is over, automatic grading, and so on. It depends. There are multiple. You have to pay for them. There is also a big package with all of them, but you can pay for them individually. So I started to check and collect what each one of them is doing to see if we can use them or not, if we should buy the bigger package or just smaller ones, and so on. But I did not finish the investigation yet due to other stuff that I had to do.
Yubsaint?
İlgim EPSA International Turkey. Andrea, thank you for your report and good work. Can you please elaborate user pro, the term in your report? Thank you.
Andrea?
Andrea, the first coordinator. Yes, User Pro is another plugin on LEAP
which basically allow us to create the registration page and form for the members, and also to give badges. And it has a lot of other features. So it's just more like a plugin that helps us to do more stuff with the users.
Nate, Slovenia. We would also just like to compliment your engagement connected to the LEAP platform, because we really believe that you try to interest students to engage more and more. And yeah, we would just like to ask you how many students have joined the LEAP platform during the past year. Thank you. If you perhaps have this information.
Andrea,
the first coordinator. Yeah, I don't have the exact number now. What I can tell you that the number of users actually decreased because I deleted a lot of accounts that were not EPSA part. But there were several, like quite a high number of students. I would say approximately around 30, 40 that joined this year. However, we did not do much promotion for it because we were waiting for courses to start and to actually have something more on it to promote. So I believe that once we will start promoting it accordingly and have more interesting stuff there might be more students joining it.
I see no more points in the chat. Are there any more questions? I see none. Then we can move on to the next report of the Public Health and Social Services Coordinator. KNPSV.
Kathy, KPC Netherlands. I was wondering when you are planning on making or releasing the materials for the immunization week, since it's like starting the 18th of, no, it is 26th, I think.
Zahra, PHS's coordinator, thank you for your question. I'm going to share the educational content with you this week, and like the materials will be ready in the exact time as well, but you will have the education content to translate everything you want in advance.
Thank you, Sarah. Please wait for me to give you speaking rights next time. And then we have Sjusefre.
Nate, Sjusefre, Slovenia. I have a question regarding both your public health and social services portfolio. During your mandate, did you think about the project or projects that would be more connected to COVID-19? Because we believe that a lot could be done on a European level concerning COVID-19 regarding the, I don't know, for example, promotions of the of vaccinations on a European level, raising awareness about the seriousnesses of the situation, and for example, about the social services. A lot could be done in terms of volunteering and stuff like that. So yeah, we were just wondering if you perhaps investigated the possibilities to implement a project or projects that would be more connected to COVID-19. Thank you.
Sarah?
Zahra, PHS's coordinator, thank you for your question. I should say that I was thinking about bringing like COVID to the immunization week because it's really important topic right now. But I realize that it's a really sensitive topic and so many people may have different opinions about it. And it would be better if we don't mention. For example, there are different kinds of vaccines, there are different kinds of people with different ways of thinking. And it would be a really sensitive topic to focus on it in immunization week, in my opinion. And regarding another public health campaigns, I didn't come up with anyone, but it would be great and I will talk with my successor about it.
Are there any more questions on the report? If not, we can move on to the next report of the science coordinator. Any questions on this report? AFOP?
Marlene, AFOP Austria. In your report, you mentioned that most students finish writing their scientific papers by May. And I was just curious how you came to the conclusion, because a lot of different European countries have different academic years. And yeah, just how you came to the conclusion that most are done in May.
Ognen?
Ogden's as coordinator. Well, I talked to a lot of my friends, and like I didn't say that they're finishing there until the May. I said that most of them will be finished by May, so we'll have a lot of abstracts that can be published. So I think like the academic year usually in Europe finishes in June, so most of the scientific papers are done by May. Thank you.
KNPSV?
Kathy, KPC Netherlands. I was wondering if you always plan to release the Science Monthly on a specific day, or like a specific day throughout the week, throughout the month. Sorry.
Ognen?
Ogden Science Coordinator. Well, there was a plan that it should be published every 15th, but since I'm collaborating with a lot of LSs and I should also work with the PR team, it can be also I need to some of my tasks or private issues to finish. So usually it's not fixed on the concrete date, but usually it's like kind of a variable thing. But it gets published usually in the same month.
APEF?
Luciano APEF, Portugal. Before publishing the EPSA Science Monthly, do you have some sort of information checking process, like asking for bibliography or even like revision? Because if not, it could be a way to avoid future similar cases like the wine issue. Thank you.
Ognen?
Ogden Science Coordinator. Okay, so regarding the wine issue, there was we didn't have any proofread, but for the every next edition of Science Monthly, I've usually sent it to the VP of Education, and also the PR department review it on a detailed way. So, yeah.
KNPSV? We have a few technicals. We can't hear you. Maybe you can speak up or...
Am I understandable now?
It's a little better, but we can't hear you very clear.
One second.
I will read the question. Have you thought about doing something like a science day online, maybe an online visit to a museum or such, or an online course? Ogden?
Ogden Science Coordinator. Okay, so I was thinking about having a science excursion, and I already started working on it. I contacted APEF LS, and we decided that we're gonna make one science excursion with the Museum of Pharmacy in Lisbon until the end of the mandate. And regarding online courses, I'm currently planning to have Science Week or Science Weekend, which will be in the end of May. So currently I'm working on it. Thank you.
Any more questions on this report? I see no more points in the chat. If not, we can move on to the training coordinator report. Any comments, any questions? KNPSV?
Kathy, KNPSV Netherlands. I was just wondering when you were planning on analyzing the answers of DLSs for the training project survey that you shared with us.
Max?
Yes, Max Willy, training coordinator. I'm sorry I cannot join with the video today because I'm in a car right now. I was planning to analyze them in May or June, as stated in my report, I think.
APEF?
Mariano, APEF Portugal. Since the training project is growing and the training requests are growing as well, do you think it is feasible to organize more TNTs per year?
Max?
Max Willy, training coordinator. Outside of Portugal, the training project is not growing. And outside of Portugal, the trainings requests are not going up. So right now with 2 TNTs per year, we're quite good. And since the last few days, since the last few years we couldn't have the 2 TNTs, we should focus on getting those done. And that would be enough for now, I think.
Nate, Slovenia. Yeah, we would just like to hear your take about the future of this project, because since we can see from the report, you were able to acquire only 2 students to become EPSA trainers. So yeah, we are a little bit worried with these numbers, and yeah, but we would just like to hear your opinion on that.
Max?
Max Willy, training coordinator. Yeah, the fact that we only had 2 people is because we didn't have a TNT, because it was not possible. And because the process of creating the online TNT took a bit longer, because frankly, I think everyone expected the pandemic to be over sooner and us to be able to have a normal event again. So right now we are in full effect of acquiring new trainers. I don't think that the interest in the project is not strong enough, because we had a relatively short registration period for the TNT. And we could acquire 17 applicants. So when we are able to have more trainings again, then we can acquire also more people. I think that's good.
KNPSV?
Kathy, KNPSV Netherlands. I just wanted to comment again on the survey. I think it would be beneficial to also in the future analyze maybe this a bit earlier, because I think it was sent somewhere still in 2020. And it would be beneficial to also analyze if it is possible earlier, because then you can share it with the DLSs as well. And they filled it in, and between November or December and right now, there have been loads of handovers between LSs, so it would also be beneficial for us to see the results because we are the ones who filled it in and we might have insight on this. Thank you.
PPSA?
Jana, PPSA Poland. I want to also bring the same topic as KMPSB because this survey was quite a long time ago and the situation throughout the year could change in some associations. Do you plan to make kind of an update for the survey and ask once again the associations for this question? And also, how do you plan to develop those KPIs for the training project on the national level? Thank you.
Max Willy, Training Coordinator. So with the survey, if you look at the questions again, then you see that I did ask questions like, how is the organization structured regarding the training project? For example, do you have a training officer? Do you have someone responsible for doing this? This is mostly like organizational questions on how your organizations are structured. Maybe some members restructured during the last half year, but otherwise I don't think that those will change that much. Also with the numbers of the trainers, with not having a possibility of TNTs, there should be no new trainers registered in the pools national wise. Yeah. However, the survey is supposed to be repeated maybe yearly after the pandemic. But yeah, this like just the starting point.
APEF.
Lucian APEF, Portugal. It's just curiosity. I know you received 17 applications for the TNT, but how many places were opened for this one? Thank you.
Max?
We had said that we have up to 16 participants if the applications are good. But from what we've seen with the applications, that at least one is not has not the quality. And one application is not complete. So it will be mostly 15. Yeah.
MUPSA?
MUPSA Turkey. Just out of curiosity, Max, when will the results will be published? I mean, whom did you choose? Thank you. For the online TNT, by the way. Thank you.
Max?
Well, Max Willy, Training Coordinator. The applicants will receive an update on Sunday night. And the final decision will take, I think, 1 more week because the executive also has to acknowledge.
I see no more points in the chat. Any more comments and questions on this report? And I see none. Mihai with the technical.
Mihai, President, would the GA agree to also take the PR department now and only then have a break? After the break, we will have external European PC audit, and that would be all for team reports and all for today. So can I have a yes or no if you want to continue? Okay, I see general agreement. Thank you. Let's carry on with PR.
Thank you, Mihai. And with this, I pass the facilitation to Erin.
Thank you, Lynn. I will just make a line in the chat. Thank you, Bianca. So we'll start with the Vice President of Public Relations, Sorina. Can everyone hear me? Kati?
Kati, KPC
Thank you.
Netherlands. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
No, I was supposed to say the name of the association. Apologies. KMPSV.
No problem. Kati, KPC Netherlands. Well, I was wondering, because you're responsible for like the image as well, how do you feel about like posting pictures or showing where people are in less than 1.5 meter distance? Because on one way, I really understand that people do this, and I think it's really beneficial to do it as well because you see happy faces. But I think it should also be important to take into account the image of the association, because in not all countries you can have less than 1.5 meter distance between people.
Sarina?
Sorina VPPR, thank you for your question. Actually, I think this is a thing that we overlooked completely. We posted several things about different materials and everything, but we completely overlooked this. I think you are right. We should take this into account in the future when we are promoting materials and posting pictures. Unfortunately, I think we didn't have any team members, and everything that was posted maybe was something from the internet, and there is no much source for distancing images and things like that for free on the internet at the moment. For team pictures, I don't think we had meetings and things like that. So the only pictures that I think we could have had together with team members were the ones that were people from the same country or association or something like that. Yeah, I agree. It's a sensitive topic and we should look more into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sorina. Apef?
Luciana Apef, Portugal. I just wanted to know what kind of development was made on the website besides investigating the usefulness of a WordPress alternative.
Sarina?
Sorina VPPR, I think here Frederick will be more into presenting you all the technicalities of it. What I've done from my side was to investigate what kind of platform it's more safe to use in order to not have that many. We had so many securities issues at the beginning of the mandate. So I investigated together with some IT friends that I had what platform was more safe to use and won't crash that hard. Like the problem with WordPress is that it can be easily hacked and things can be changed and altered to WordPress. So from my side, that's what I did. What updates were made? Well, that was from Frederica's side. She tried to switch the language from WordPress to another one that's more safe for most of the pages.
Thank you, Sarina. EPSA International.
Hi, firstly, thank you for your report. And we would like to ask, do you have any plans to promote a YouTube channel? Because we think there's a lack of views. Thank you.
Sarina?
Sorina VPPR, actually, no, it's something that I stated from the beginning of the mandate. I don't think we are at the moment ready to have a grow on YouTube. The main thing with YouTube is that you have to be constant on posting videos. And I have to agree, this mandate side did a great job on providing videos for YouTube, but it's something that only happened this mandate, and it's not something that we are doing constantly because we are struggling with finding people that have the knowledge to produce videos. So unfortunately, I'm not planning to have a growth on YouTube.
Thank you, Sarina. Shastasafada.
Nate Shastasafada, Slovenia. In your report, you also mentioned the EPSA newsletter being moved to the public publications coordinator portfolio. So we would just like to elaborate on that. How did it affect the publications coordinator, and how was this change? Like, was it the right decision to do that or not? Thank you.
Sarina.
Sarina, VPPR. Well, I think here Veronica can answer you as well, because I can only tell you from my side that we took this decision because mostly she said that her workload is not that hard and she can do it. And we decided to do it with the second volume of the newsletter, since I've seen and I struggled a lot with collecting all the materials and everything needed for the first volume that I did. And afterwards, with the second, we decided to change. It was hard and it didn't allow me to overview the department and to see exactly what they were working on. Like most of the things from the first part of my mandate slipped my mind because I was too focused on this publication. And I think after analyzing all the materials, I've noticed that in the past it was under the publications coordinator, and somehow over the time, because they didn't have enough knowledge or they were not prepared to take this on, it was slowly moved to VPPR, and I think it wasn't the right call.
Thank you, Sarina. I have no one else on the speaking list. Do we have any other questions for Sarina? I see none. And now we can move on to the next one, which is design coordinator. I open the floor for questions on design coordinator report. Do we have any questions? KMPSV?
Kathy, KPSV Netherlands. I was wondering how the EPSA blog is promoted. This could also be answered by Lucy if she knows more about it.
Said?
Said, design coordinator. The EPSA, I think I heard you say the EPSA blog. That wouldn't really be my domain, so I wouldn't really know how that is promoted. I think you're probably better off asking either Veronica or indeed Lucy.
Thank you, Said. Lucy?
Lucy, social media coordinator. Yes, again, like Said said, what has been working this mandate is Veronica has been making Canva designs and just poking me when she feels like the blog needed to be promoted. But it was very much her, she was very much managing it and just sending me things to post. So again, it's probably best for Veronica to answer this one as well.
Thank you, Lucy. Next, we have Pastor.
Yes, Silvia Fast for Romania. First of all, we would like to congratulate you on your work and on your report. And we have one question. Would you be so kind to elaborate why the costs outweigh the benefits of making an online format for the newsletter? That's all.
Said? Said?
Yeah, Said, design coordinator. Well, the thing with making an online version of the newsletter is, well, I mean, the newsletter traditionally is a printed publication, and making it into an online interactive format would be, it's something that's quite difficult to do. And as cool as it would be to do, I just didn't think that there would be much interest in it seeing as, after the pandemic, we'd probably be printing it anyways and giving it out at events. So I thought it'd be best to just leave that and just continue it the way it's going. Unless, of course, you want an interactive one.
I have no one else on the speaking list. Do we have any further questions? I see none. Thank you, Said. And now we can move on to IT coordinator. I open the floor for questions.
Stania SFD Slovenia. I have a question regarding the updates of the website. So, as I have seen, many things are still are outdated. For example, there is a picture of previous IT coordinator still there, and many little details that are old. Do you plan to update them soon? Thanks.
Federici.
Federici, IT coordinator. Indeed, the plan is to update everything. The reason that it hasn't happened already is that usually before my mandate it was happening in a centralized manner, so this kind of information about the team were managed by a plugin, which is not really sorry, I'm seeing the bullshit, which is not really available anymore because of the issues we had. So the way to do this now is by basically recreating every single page. This procedure is still underway. At the moment, we already have a batch of pages along with a working group that we want to launch. Some of them are already implemented depending on the needs of the but still some of them need to be recoded before everything is up and functioning. I hope this answers.
Thank you, Federici. Apef?
Luciana Apef, Portugal. Can you elaborate a bit more on the summary text that you have mentioned that causes you to lose the access of the platforms? Thank you.
Federici?
Federici, IT coordinator. To give a bit of a background on this, basically this began as an issue from our domain. We always used WordPress platforms, and usually we were managing the website through WordPress login without really checking the domain, at least from what I have seen from previous mandates. This in the beginning of the mandate basically meant a massive amount of malware attacks in the domain. We had a lot of obfuscated, a lot of encrypted code there from the attacks. Basically, that was because a lot of the things that we also had in WordPress were outdated so that we could use them. The managing plugin that we had in WordPress was not really available anymore with the newer versions of the language, which is the PHP coding language, the one mainly used in WordPress. And basically, we had to choose either by updating and making the website more safe and the domain more safe, or by keeping the content plugin. We chose safety, and basically that led also to using new approaches to recreate the pages, having to do the...
Federici, your time is done. Apologies. Fasifera.
Miruna Fesfere, Romania. You stated in your report that you will conduct some surveys among DLSs to collect improvement points regarding the new version of the EPSA website. When do you plan to do so? Thank you.
Federici?
Federici, IT coordinator. For that to happen, I basically wanted to have a better overview of how exactly we are proceeding with the new pages, and basically reach a point where the ones that need constant update are already recoded. Because basically now every single page instead of PHP is using HTML, which can still be integrated in the WordPress. Now that we have basically a good base of those and we want to implement the bats that I already mentioned, it's also the time to see how the platform should look in the future. And this whole idea basically came also last year through the LS survey, where a lot of input was already given about what to change. So I would expect this to happen soon, like over the next month probably, before the end of this mandate, for sure.
Thank you, Frederici. Pef?
Mariano, APF Portugal. On the Alumni Coordinator report, it's written that you had some difficulties regarding the alumni platform. And I was just wondering if you think it would be beneficial to have external help on the website?
Frederici?
Frederici, IT Coordinator. This indeed is the approach that is being discussed now. It was already an idea to potentially have external help with that particular platform because a lot of things still need to implement it in it, and along with everything that is happening also in the main platforms, it may be more efficient to also collaborate with someone externally. That also came from the Internal Affairs Department and mostly IT Coordinator as an idea, and I definitely support that if we are to have the platform sooner than as possible. Hope this answers.
Thank you, Frederici. Carolina, is that the director, Frederici? You can raise it as a new point. Carolina?
Carolina, Alumni Coordinator. So since the reports we had a point on the OEM of the platform, and it will be taken care of externally. Apologies that I have not said it before, but it was after the reports were sent to you.
Thank you, Carolina. I have no one else on the speaking list. Do we have any other questions? Frederici?
Frederici, IT Coordinator. Damn it. Frederici, IT Coordinator. Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Seeing that a lot of you may require a lot of details, and I have also noticed this from previous interactions with LSs, if any one of you wants further input on basically how everything works, what may be the more technical details that have happened, of course you can feel free to approach me over email and we can give you further information on that.
Thank you, Frederici. I ask once again, do we have any other questions? I see none. And now we can move on to Publications Coordinator, and I open the floor for questions. Do we have any questions? KMPSV?
I think EPSA Netherlands. I was wondering if maybe you or Lucy, since you post or since you are Publications Coordinator, but you might be also checking this. How many people listen to the EPSA blog? I was kind of already EPSA podcast. Thank you.
Veronica?
Veronica, Publications Coordinator. I'm sorry, I'll also be without camera. So yeah, I have a statistics for EPSA podcast, and we have like over 400 total plays for all episodes. And still the most popular episode was the one regarding the mentoring project, which has almost 150 total plays. So yeah.
Thank you, Veronica. APF?
Luciana, APF Portugal. Regarding the EPSA podcast, on the recommendations, you said you want to try to prepare EPSA podcast episodes in different form than interview. So I just wanted to know if you have already any ideas on doing that, or even to pass to your successor. Thank you.
Veronica?
Veronica Publications Coordinator. So it was also discussed during our team meeting that it would be good to have some episodes with for example, some expert when some particular topic could be covered in the episode. It was also discussed possibility to have Science Monthly in the podcast format, but also maybe my successor have another idea for this episode. So I think it would be good to mix the forms of the episodes.
Thank you, Veronica. Afop?
Annika, AFIP Austria, do you have any statistics on how many people actually read the articles posted on the EPSA blog? Thank you.
Veronica?
Veronica Publications Coordinator. It's hard to check how many people are actually read the articles, even they click on the link. But as Lucy mentioned, whenever I publish something on the blog, I send her the designs and for publish and post and promote it. But even if people are liking a post on social media, it did not have results on the statistics on the blog. I don't have like exact numbers for that moment, unfortunately, but as far as I noticed in the past few months, it was quite low. So yeah, the activity on the blog is also lower lately because of that.
Thank you, Veronica. KMPSV?
Cathy, KMPC Netherlands, your KPI states that you want to publish 40 articles on the EPSA blog. Do you think that's ideal, or do you think it should be lower or higher? Just what are your opinion on this, on the amount of articles on the EPSA blog?
Veronica?
In my personal opinion, it should be lower because like in this online reality, I think the people are a bit overwhelmed with that amount of publications and things going online. And I don't know if even if the activity would be higher of posting to post, people would actually read this. But on the other hand, I think it in the future mandate, it could be more promoted among the LSs, and the LSs could be more approached for sending articles for the blog. So like it could be more for members' content.
Thank you, Veronica. I have no one else in the speaking list. Do we have any other questions? I see none. And now we can move on to social media coordinator. I open the floor for questions. KMPSV?
Cathy, KMPC Netherlands. I was wondering, since you have a link tree right now, if you can also see like how many people click on the links in the link tree and how many people click on the link in general. I'm not sure if you can see this, so I was just wondering.
Lucy?
Lucy, social media coordinator. Yes, we can see how many people click the link. I was using this a lot for when we were promoting the mental health survey to see how many people were kind of engaging with our posts and then actually following the links through. I can go get the figures if you like, but I think it's just for the clicking on the link tree in general and not for specific links. But if anybody else knows otherwise, please feel free to connect to me.
Thank you, Lucy. Any other questions? KMPSZ?
Kati, KBC Netherlands. In your report, you mentioned that both Instagram and Facebook, or also the others, but had like an increase in reach or members or followers dependent on the program. I was wondering if you could also detect like if this resulted to like a higher reach of the posts themselves. So did you really see a connection between like more followers or people liking the page on Facebook in connection to a higher reach of the posts in specific?
Lucy?
Yeah, Lucy, social media coordinator. Yes, I get what you're saying now. Yeah, definitely. When the reach increases, we do see an influx of followers, so especially when we had really high reaching campaigns, like the one off my top of my head would be World Pharmacist Day. When we do see big reaches like that, we do get an influx in followers, mainly because more people that like our posts, I can then invite them to the page as well. So we do get more of an increase that way. So it might not be directly people following, but either me inviting them, but either way, higher reaching posts do produce higher amounts of followers.
Thank you, Lucy. APEF?
Luciana, APEF Portugal. We just want to thank you for your good work on engaging more with members and their publications. Thank you.
Thank you, APEF. I have no one else in the speaking list. Do we have any other comments or questions? Mihai with the technical.
Mihai, President. So then it's time for a break. We'll reconvene at 16:45. And if Maeva could perform the roll call, then we could end the session.
I was not sure if I had to. All right, let's see what I've got. Oh, I think I missed. AFA VFSO Belgium, BPHSA Bulgaria, CPSA Croatia, CZPSA Czech Republic, FIPSA Finland, ANEP France, BPHD Germany, GPSF Greece, IPSA Ireland, SFD Lithuania, K.N.P.S.V. the Netherlands, NOPSA Norway, PPSA Poland, APEF Portugal, FASFERA Romania, NAPSAR Serbia, SPSA Slovakia, SUSSFD Slovenia, SNAP Sweden, ASEP Switzerland, IPSA International Turkey, and BPSA United Kingdom. "23 voting members. Thank you.